Chaim HaKadosh today, and I thought I would speak a few words within regards to the synagogue, the famous Ohr HaChaim Synagogue, which is actually located on, I think, Ezra Street, Ohr HaChaim Street, in the Jewish quarter in the old city of Jerusalem. Currently, it is, let's just say, it is operating as it was established back in the year 1742. Now, very famously, the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar, would actually arrive to Jerusalem from Morocco in the year 1742, where he would establish a yeshiva over there in, let's just say, which had a large yeshiva. There was a room in the back, which was also Ezrat Nashim. And there's a tradition, I think, Rabbi Attar would actually study with a famous Eliyahu Hanavi over there. And there's a lot of history we can actually say within regards to this place. We spoke about in the video this morning about how the yeshiva became, let's just say, a greater location in of itself. The Knesset Yisrael was actually originally formed there back in the year 1742, and obviously I think it was actually built in the courtyard of another great rabbi, Rabbi Emanuel Chai Ricci, who, let's just say, was one of the great rabbis of his time. He was an Italian Mishnah commentator, Kabbalist, and a poet. He was known for various different great Torah works. It would actually be established, I think, in his courtyard. Very, very interesting enough, and which we have to speak about. He himself, I think, was born in Ferrara in Italy. Yes, so Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar would arrive in Jerusalem from Livorno in Italy after immigrating there from Morocco, and opened the Chaim B'Chesed Yeshiva, I think, inside the building, where I think at its peak would number as many as 60 students. And the students were absolutely outstanding. We spoke all about it, how they had the Ketah Torah, the crown of the Torah, on them. And the yeshiva was highest level, let's say, learning. On Talmudim, they actually say, U'bnei ha'chabura ha'chachamim v'chuchamim b'ketah yira'ah. How Baba Torah, the love of the Torah they had was absolutely amazing. B'yom asku b'torah u'b'layla hayu oskim b'tfilot. They went to supplications and in great amounts of tefillot. They would actually go to kivrim of the great righteous people, the burial plots over there. They would come, the great rabbis of Jerusalem would come and ask questions and grapple with many of the different issues of the, let's just say, of those specific days. I think next to the Beit Knesset, next to the synagogue, there was a small mikveh that was actually revealed, I think, at a later stage. It is reported over. I think there was a mikveh was uncovered, I think, in recent years under the stairs, which leads to the women's section, the Ezrat Nashim, in recent years, confirming that there was a long standing mikveh over there, buried there must have been inside the yeshiva in of its day. More stuff can be related over. I think after Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar passed away, let's just say, I think it was Rabbi Moshe ibn Attar, after he passed away, there was a lot going on, I think, inside the synagogue at that point in time. Let's just say we talked all about the yeshiva in the class earlier on today. So I think Rabbi Moshe ben Attar would take over the place, but he would die a year later. Unfortunately, the Turkish government would go on to confiscate the synagogue for one reason or another, possibly anti-Semitically. And then the place would stand desolate for a period of time. And finally, I think at a later stage, it will be transferred to the Ashkenazi community after, I think, it was purchased by a Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Shoklov. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. He was a famous Kabbalist, one of the Talmudim of the Gra, he happened to be. And was one of the first immigrants to the land of Israel. He was one of the Talmudim of his, and became a leader, let's just say, in Sfat, respectively, of the Jewish community. We mentioned about him, I believe, on various occasions before. Rabbi Menachem Mendel Mishkolov, really, really great rabbi. I think he actually passed away himself in the year 1827. He lived about 87 years of age. So he would purchase, or he would take control of the synagogue at a later time. They would pray and study inside the synagogue, I think, especially, and the government, I think, they would only, I think, initially pray there during the weekdays, but the government did give them permission, I think, on Shabbat, on holidays for prayers, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the Kabbalistic yeshiva over there would eventually be renewed, the synagogue be renewed, and the place continued to be named Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar. And very interesting, I think in there was a fall of the Jewish quarter, I think, at one stage in time. It would have been Rabbi Mordechai Weingart, Abraham Rabbi Abraham Mordechai Weingarten would be in charge of the synagogue. I think he was the first president of the Jewish Settlement Committee in the Old City of Jerusalem during the British Mandate. He was a resident of the Old City, and really, at that point in time, the Jewish quarter between 1935 to 1948. Unfortunately, after the Yom Ha'atzmaut War, the War of Independence, the synagogue was destroyed. You see the anti-Semitism that's taken place, unfortunately, all throughout Jewish history. Now, in 1967, after the renewal of the Jewish settlement in the Old City, it would reopen, and now I think it will become an Ashkenazic synagogue. I'm not too sure that window of time when it was Rabbi Mendel Mishkolov, if that would have been an Ashkenazi synagogue or not at that stage in time. But for sure, I think after 1967 it will be, and it would still be under the name Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natar. And I think there's a morning kollel there, and I think it's connected to the Karlin Hasidim, this kollel is. And it's stated that, I think according to Hasidic tradition, Rabbi Pinchas of Koritz, who was one of the close disciples, I say, of the Baal Shem Tov, he was one of the great righteous Hasidic men, stated that if you would go to Jerusalem, you would be in the synagogue over there. This would be basically his place to be in. That's remember the Baal Shem Tov thought of the Chaim Ibn Natar in the highest esteem possible. So he would go to Jerusalem and would be inside the Beit Knesset of the Ohr HaChaim, and nighttime he would actually go to the Kever Rachel, the burial plot of Rachel Imenu, also respected. So more can be said within regards to the synagogue. Obviously, originally it was a Kabbalistic synagogue of Sephardic descent, and obviously later stage it would go on to become an Ashkenazic synagogue here in the recent days. So you could actually, there's much related within regards to this famous place. So actually, I think on this channel we actually related a video we actually visited, I think, next to the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh synagogue over here. More can be said about it, about Ohr HaChaim Kadosh. Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natai passed away. His Hilula was on the 15th of Tammuz, which was this month, so it's actually an appropriate time. It was in this last week, was his Hilula. And they actually say that Rabbi Shalom Arush, a great Breslov rabbi, says that on the yahrzeit of Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natar, the Ohr HaChaim, that it's very good time period, especially to talk about the stories, the stories about him, that he was above nature, learned something from his commentary of the Torah, and make a request. And they say, Rabbi Shalom Arush would actually say that women have gotten pregnant during this time period, on the yahrzeit especially, and sick people have been healed. Just shows that the requests that we ask for can really be answered. It's actually very interesting. I think Rav Shalom Arush in the Breslov.com website, I think it's quoted, that he quotes over what we spoke about this morning in the other video. Then in 1740, the good news that came to the Jewish settlement in Tiberia. At the time, I think the Ottoman authorities invited the renowned Kabbalist, Rabbi Chaim Abulafia, the rabbi of Izmir, to come to the land of Israel and rebuild Tiberias, which had lain desolate for some time. This is what the article is saying. The Ottoman authorities wanted the city rebuilt for economic reasons, but the Jewish people considered Rabbi Abulafia's mission a sign of the approaching fulfillment of the messianic hopes over there. Rabbi Chaim Abulafia re-established the yeshiva in Tiberias, bringing new life to that city, which had been a vibrant center of Jewish life and creativity in the Second Temple period and Talmudic times. In the year 1742, Rabbi Chaim Abulafia famously met with Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natar, the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh, who just came to Israel at that stage in time, and the Ohr HaChaim was a guest of Rabbi Abulafia for 9 days. Rabbi Abulafia pleaded with him to remain in Tiberias. Rabbi Chaim ben Attar refused. Remember, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar would eventually make the yeshiva, as we said before, on his goal was to make it in Jerusalem, and it would be done in Jerusalem. Now, one of his disciples was a Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Ezra'el, who wrote of his master's greatness. Rabbi Attar's heart pulsated with Talmud. He uprooted mountains like a restless torrent. His holiness was that of an angel of the Lord, having severed all connection with the affairs of the world. Now, it's interesting. Rabbi Chaim Abulafia would study... Rabbi Chaim, I'm not sure if it's referring to Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natar, Rabbi Chaim Abulafia, so apologizes over there. He would study under his grandfather, whose name he bore. Sephardic Jews often named their children after living parents or grandparents. While still a young man, he became famous as a Talmudic scholar and a Kabbalist. He led a very, let's say, great life, saintly life. It was called HaKadosh. So it's referring to Rabbi Chaim Ibn Natar over here, obviously, because he was known as HaKadosh, the holy man. He wrote several important works, best known being the commentary on the Chumash, which obviously is printed alongside to Rashi, the Ramban, and other famed commentaries. Now, towards the last years of his life, he only lived 47 years of age. He would go to the Holy Land. On that way, he would spend to Livorno and in Venice for a period of time, and in Damascus. He arrived in Jerusalem in 1742 with a group of 30 Talmudim followers at that point in time. That's where the yeshiva, Knesset Yisrael, were formed. However, in the following year, he passed away sadly on the 15th of Tammuz. Wherever he lived, he founded the yeshiva and the synagogue, which carried his name, and were famous long after the founder's death. The Ohr HaChaim Synagogue and the yeshiva in the old city of Jerusalem were unfortunately destroyed anti-Semitically by the Jordanian Arabs during the occupation of the old city. However, there are plans to rebuild the ruins, along with other sacred institutions which Arabs had desecrated or destroyed. He only lived 47 years and is buried in the Jewish cemetery on Har HaZeitim, Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Now, I'm not too sure when this article was actually written by Rabbi Shlomo Aruch. I think the Breslov staff, they would post it on 16th of July in the year 2024. So that will be interesting enough. This is just an extra added tidbit within regards to it. But everyone that's in the old city of Jerusalem, I recommend to visit the street of Ohr HaChaim Synagogue, and especially at time of the Hilula, light candles in memory, learn more, and request something from Hashem. And Bez Hashem, let's see our blessings. Now, friends who are community, we're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great chachamim we are speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please subscribe now. We are nearing a staggering, at the moment, 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. And if anyone's interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos also to other people also. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Wishing you all a fantastic day. And stay tuned for more Torah, let's just say. Thanks very much, everyone, and have a great day.